Hello and good evening, comrades. Welcome to the Gaming Perspective podcast. Okay, I've been playing too much Metro. What's going on, everybody? This is Nicholas Downey from the Inner Circle. Welcome to the Gaming Perspective podcast, episode. Oh God, I double labeled the episodes. This is episode 35, but it's episode 34. So welcome to the Gaming Perspective podcast, the most consistently late podcast on a Saturday night.
Damn
so,
right.
Joining me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey guys, how's it going? Ignore the title, it's having a case of deja vu, but we are here. We're ready to talk about a bunch of great games because Lord knows there aren't enough games coming out on February 15th.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
No kidding.
And my other co-host, Jared.
How's it going, everybody? Let's get talking. Yeah. There's a lot that came out yesterday, 4 games and a trial. Yeah, so I'm really excited to get diving into our topics that happened, of all the fun stuff that happened last week and these fantastic games that came out.
Right on. And joining us from the crazy land down under of the United States, well, the Australia of the United States, Florida, Mr. Jackson.
Oh, no.
Oh, that took me back to the Black Ops 2 days whenever I used to get a storm. I'd play the air horns on my, I can't even remember what brand of cell phone I had at that point. I guess a flip phone still.
Hey, man, the Razor phone was that was my jam before I got the iPhone.
Oh, man, that Razor phone. Do you remember those commercials where people were, fighting with cell phones? That was, the most badass commercial when I was, 14.
That phone's an OG, man.
Amen.
For sure. So, before we dive into our news topics today, we will be talking a little bit about what we've been playing. Of course, I'm going to skip myself because if anyone's been following me on Twitter, you know I played Crackdown 3 extensively. I covered any questions people may have about the series in an awesome Q&A video that I did with Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
And you said that you'd have the co-op questions answered, right? So let's get to that.
Yeah, because I totally had time to play video games so far this weekend. Moving on, I also have Metro Exodus, which I installed and got to play a whopping 5 minutes of. But
was it a glorious 5 minutes?
Oh man, the first 5 minutes of that game, I can't I'm not one to tout graphics. Everyone knows I'll play 16-bit games. I don't really care about graphics. Mm-hmm. But when it exited the first scene, I was like, wait, this is the gameplay?
So it happened to you too. You get what I mean about your jaw dropping when the cutscene ends, except you realize it wasn't a cutscene, it was an engine.
Yeah, that I haven't had my jaw hit the floor that much since God of War, to be brutally honest with you.
It's incredible. Looks beautiful.
The weather, everything, if you don't follow Sam on Twitter, go take a look at Sam's profile because he shared some awesome clips from Metro Exodus so far. We're going to talk to Sam here in a sec about what he's been playing. I'm going to go to Eric because he's a little bit of a wild card on what he's playing. I know what Sam and Jared have been playing. So, Eric, what have you been playing?
I am the wild card, man, because the 2019 backlog tour is still rolling.
Of course.
I'm pulling something of an experiment this year, as I shared with you guys already. So I'm really dedicating to the backlog and selecting the few heavy hitters from the year that will drop, right? Mm-hmm. So right now, Bloodborne. I am all about Bloodborne right now, and nothing's pulled me off of it yet. I've been sharing a lot with Jared and Sam, my progress. Mm-hmm. So right now, I'm going through the Old Hunters DLC, and man,
it's good, right? It's good.
It's another case of a DLC that is probably better than most main campaigns on a 100-hour game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a concentrated study in everything that made Bloodborne great, and everything that they kind of learned up to this point. It's really interesting. Bloodborne as a whole is a great game, but something about that DLC is it's so focused.
Well, what's interesting, Eric, I didn't tell you this, I realized, or Jared this, but did you know the Bloodborne DLC was originally supposed to be 2 different DLC packs? It was supposed to be 2 different ones. Even now, I won't name exactly where the beginning and end was due to spoilers, but Miyazaki delayed the DLC a few months because he was like, no, this works better as one complete package. This works better as one journey beginning to end. And I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I think he
yeah. I think it would have hurt it if they did that.
I agree. It would have really hurt it. It would have fractured the player base even more. Doing the DLC was appropriate. Have you gotten any of the cool new weapons yet?
Yes. Let's see. What was the last weapon? The I'm drawing a blank. It's the one that you get from the two ridiculously OP, crazy shark giants.
Yeah, that's
in the fishing shanty.
The gun? Is it the gun down there?
Oh no, you know what I got? The bow blade.
The bow blade. Okay, a good weapon. That's a great one.
Yeah.
The bow blade is very interesting. But do you mind me whetting your appetite with the knowledge of a gun in that DLC you need to find?
Go for it. Because based on the trophies, I'm trying to find every weapon. So
there's a Gatling gun.
Oh, okay.
Remember that Gatling that someone used on you? You can get a man-portable version of it. It eats through your bullets, but it is a glorious 10 seconds.
Is that different? Is it different than the one? Because I do have one from the main game.
You have there's only one Gatling. There's only one Gatling, and it's in the DLC. So you know what you need to send me a picture. Send me a picture the next time you're playing, and I'll tell you what's going on there.
Will do. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up right now as we're talking and see what's doing. But yeah, the point being, I'm going to be rolling through Bloodborne until it's done. I'm also going to do working on the platinum run, so we have some co-op work to do.
Absolutely,
grinding the chalice dungeons.
That's gonna be fun.
But yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's been about 2 months now, about a month and a half of just like working on that game in between time, outside of family stuff. But yeah, I've really been enjoying like diving back into the games that I've kind of let sit on the shelf while other games kept taking its place. And I came to a point where I said that's always going to happen. And I'm always so I got to stop somewhere and go back.
We're always going to have a backlog. I actually felt rather at ease with my backlog when I accepted that. You're always going to have a backlog, but you can control what that backlog consists of. And I thought, you know what? That is an empowering way of thinking about it. I was really inspired by you, Eric. I was really inspired by you. And the last thing I'll say about that is, do you now understand between The Witcher 3 and Bloodborne why I look at people sideways when they say 2015 was a trash year for games? I'm like, something is not screwed on right over there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, I mean, like, I won't comment, but
yeah. Whatever they were thinking of smoking, I do not know. But I will say this one thing before we move on about Bloodborne. I see where latecomers who jump into it. I remember Jason Schreier saying at first they didn't get him, and all of a sudden it clicked and it made sense to him, right?
Yes.
Danny O'Dwyer was sort of the same way, but I think Danny was all about it from the moment he started and kept going. It just had its hooks in him. I had stopped and started Bloodborne off and on, right? And now that I sat down and said, you know what? For whatever reason, I was going through different games, and I know I picked up RE2, so that'll be the next thing I play from the new games. But I said, for whatever reason, Bloodborne kept hitting my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I saw Jason Schreier talking about it. I don't know what it was, but I kept going back to, I really feel like I want to play. It kept pulling to me. And that's kind of how I've been thinking about the backlog stuff. Like whatever game kind of keeps coming to mind. So Evil Within was one.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to play that game. All right. So yeah, that's where Bloodborne was. And where I had left off was the Forbidden Forest. To show you how early I kind of stopped playing. And Bloodborne is definitely that game where you don't want to stop. Because when you try to go back, you're like, where the hell was I? What was I doing? So once I got my bearings and I got going again, I was like, it just clicked. Everything just kind of went, you know what? This is where I want to be. And when I'm away from it, I just want to be back in the world.
That's awesome to hear, man. That's awesome to hear. Bloodborne is one of those games alongside The Witcher 3 and God of War and Red Dead 2 where it's like they define this generation. They are the best of the best of what we have.
Tank control rolling, really defining this generation? Really, fam?
Oh.
Really, my boy?
Really? So can we talk about what Jared's been playing?
No, I don't want to talk about Anthem.
But conversely, it was the same thing with Witcher. It was the same thing with Witcher 3. Once I went back and it got its hooks in me, it was the same thing. I did not want to get out of that world until I was done.
Absolutely, man.
like Sam, I admire Eric's dedication to his backlog. So I have a backlog system for this year. What I'm doing is I'm beating a new game. For every new game I beat, I have to beat one out of my backlog before starting a new one.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much kind of the system I've been working.
The only problem is that now I've hit this point where I can't stop playing the new ones because I did Resident Evil 2. Then I was obligated to do Crackdown 3. But now I'm looking at Metro Exodus like I can't play another game before playing this one because this one literally has me hook, line, and sinkered. Which is fair because the game I was working on my backlog was Metro 2033. So I'm like, is it really cheating?
Those aren't long games, though. That's the thing. That's not the big ones. That's not the 150 hour stuff. You're fine.
Because after Metro Exodus, I'm probably going to jump into Persona 5. So rip my time frame.
God rest your soul, and I hope we all remember you.
I'll probably finish up that just as Sekiro launches.
See, so, that's another new one that I'll be.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is I'm going into Persona 5 going, I'm going to get that platinum.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know every one of my weeaboo friends that I follow on Twitter who's mocked me for not liking JRPGs will be absolutely infuriated if I get the platinum for Persona 5. So that's a goal for me. So we'll ask Jared what he's playing after Sam. Sam, what have you been playing?
Well, okay, so I've mostly been... All right, I'll talk about this. I will say I tried the Crackdown 3 Wrecking Zone mode. I tried that out. Has anyone else gotten to try the Wrecking Zone?
No.
Not yet. I just started dabbling with the campaign like last night before I crashed.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I haven't gotten to the campaign yet, but I did dabble around with Wrecking Zone. Here's what I'll say. Only 2 modes, only a couple of maps. Agent customization is fine. You know, you can choose your agent, choose your guns, stuff like that, choose your bonus power. Right now, it's a lot of fun. As just going in as someone who didn't extensively play the original Crackdown and had limited expectations, this is a lot of fun, especially Territories. I think Territories is much better than Agent Hunter because in Territories, the devs did something that's actually brilliant. They have a mode, you know, it's Territories where it's like capture the flag, King of the Hill style stuff. But what it is they understand 3D space. It's not just a pillar of light like, you know, in Halo or whatever, where King of the Hill is you stand in this ring. It's a 3D box. You can't go above that box or below it. So due to the verticality involved, there's actually a lot of clever maneuvering and like, okay, do I want to blow this out or can I blow this out? Because if I blow this area out, we're going to have to platform over there. Like, it's actually really, really cool. I'm not going to say how long it's going to be there. I won't guarantee how long it'll have its hooks in me. But right now, Wrecking Zone is a lot of fun. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
So that's been pretty neat. The other thing that I've primarily been playing is Metro Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to have to rein me in here. What can I say? This game, I'm a fan of the first 2 games, but look, Eurojank is a thing, right? It is very much a thing. Eastern European development, sometimes you have that kind of thing happen. There were limiting factors. It was always AAA on a AA budget, so to speak, right? But they had several months to polish this game, and it really has paid off. The detail in the world is stunning. It's gorgeous. Like you heard Nick say, like Jared has said, and like I said in our DMs, I literally couldn't tell when the opening cutscene stopped and when it shifted to in-game and, you know, until you actually take control. Like that moment when it switches, I couldn't tell you what it was with the first time I played through. It was absolutely incredible. The mechanical click of all the different guns. They whine, they grind, sometimes they jam and you have to clear the jam out. The barrels overheat and fizz. It feels so good. There's so many different enemy types, mutants. The enemy AI is vastly improved. This is a really neat thing here, where what happens is if you're extremely careful and methodical and you clear a bunch of guys out, the remainder will start to panic. And if you clear even more of them out, at one point I had a guy just put his hands up and surrender. He's like, okay, you got me. I promise I'm putting my gun down now, because he knew he was outgunned because I had taken all of his guys out, you know, sniped them from corners or dragged them off and knifed them. And so it was like, okay, wow, the AI just surrendered. That's really neat. That's actually really, really cool. a lot of different dynamic stuff that can happen. Like I saw a winged mutant sleeping under a bridge, and I thought about it. I was like, huh, okay, that's neat. Came to that same bridge an hour later, ran across it because a pack of mutant wolves were chasing me. I woke him up. I was trip trapping on his bridge, and he got really cranky, and he woke up and picked me up and threw me, 100 feet in the air. It's like, oh, okay, neat. I should have remembered he's sleeping under there. Don't disturb his sleep. And just there's so many different cool things. That's without even getting into the story, because I don't want to spoil any of the character interactions or the twist this takes on the Metro lore. If you're super into the lore of the games like I am, and which faction controls what, there's some interesting twist here. Like, if anyone has any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer them, because I could just rant on and on and on about how in love I am.
Actually, after Sam gets his review done on Tick Games Network, we'll actually be doing a video where he'll be answering any Metro style questions, similar to what we did with Crackdown 3. Because I have a mountain of questions. Even though I'll be playing the game, there's a mountain of questions on his perspective that I want to get. So be very excited for that. Now, Jared,
yes,
what are you playing?
I guess the two outstanding ones would be one, Metro Exodus for sure. And I guess with everybody else is saying, like, I don't think I need to say anything, honestly. You have all really pretty much have said everything that needs to be said, because I'm in total agreement with everybody's opinion on the game. It's just a fantastic game. I'm really glad the third one's finally out. Like, holy crap, it's been waiting long enough. So, first time I saw it at E3, I was super, super, super excited to play it. So, I'm just glad it's here. Now, I've also played Anthem, and I won't divulge too long into Anthem, but I'm very impressed with the game. I think there's a lot more to offer there than people think. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how much there really is to offer, and I'm still discovering a lot of things, and I'm getting close to nearing the end of my 10-hour trial through EA Access on the Xbox. I will say, in comparison to the demo, it is substantially better. They did a lot of improvements, a lot of fixes, and that's not including the big patch that's coming out on launch day. So
I actually have two very specific questions for you, Jared.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, in my clan Discord, because a bunch of my guys have been playing Anthem. They're huge into the loot shooter genre. A huge subsection of my clan plays loot shooters.
Yeah.
Any disconnection problems? Because a lot of the guys in my clan have been having disconnect problems when they're in a full party. Have you had any issues? Or
Nope.
Nope.
Honestly, the only issue I first encountered, or really that has been an issue, was when I first launched the game and I started playing it. It kind of crashed during a cinematic, and I had to go back to the beginning and kind of restart a short little tutorial part at the very, very start of the game. But that's about it. I haven't really had any other major issues.
Okay, and the second thing is related to mission story progress.
Okay.
This was a tweet that someone tweeted out, and I'm not looking. This isn't a troll thing for me. This is actually a interest thing, because the original tweet leads.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about too. It's the trials thing, isn't it?
Anthem now requires me to do petty stuff like 50 melee kills, 15 combos, and 10 collectibles found to advance with the story. Is that true, or is that like a sub mode, or?
No, that is true. There is. I'm actually at the same story section too. What that mission is meant to do. There are 4 tombs that you have to go discover. There are ex-freelancers that lead to finding General Tarsus's. Yeah, it's weird saying that. Their Javelin of Dawn, their armor, sort of thing, and in order to do that, you have to do these trials associated to unlocking these doors to enter these tombs. And what these trials or challenges are is basically playing the game. So it's trying to explore, or not explore, but implore you and encourage you to go out into free play and to do other missions and to explore a little bit of the game and to kind of just get a feel of the world. But
So
I
so
will
basically
disagree.
what they're trying to do is, in a roundabout way, they're trying to encourage you to not just bum rush through the story,
Yeah.
and just kind of envelop yourself in the world in
Yes.
a different way. They're trying to like direct you to do something else without being like, "Hey, go do this."
Yeah, and they're not difficult things either. Like I can almost do all the objectives because there's only like 3 challenges you have to do per tomb door, I think, to unlock it. And yeah, you have to do it a certain number of times. But they're just like the simple medals that you get from doing the missions, like weak points or fire kills or something like that, or whatever, or reviving your friendly teammates. Like it's really kind of simple. So the more you play it, the faster it's going to unlock. And if you really focus on it, it's not going to take you very long. Yeah, it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but to me, I'm sorry, but you want some hand holding if you really want to bum rush the main story just to figure out if the game is good or not. That doesn't make a good game. You can't just bum rush through the main story and judge the game for what it's worth when you haven't really played the full game for what it is, if that makes any sense. So that's my...
Yeah, developers always try to find different ways to make people not just bum rush the story and experience side content. It's definitely a different way of doing it. I was just more curious to how much of a pain it could be, but it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal. So that was just a curiosity. I also have to address this because I actually got a couple of tweets about this. Me dunking on Jared for Anthem is actually... a couple of people actually contacted me and thought I was being a little mean-spirited. And to those people, I say, go fuck yourselves.
Thank you.
Because
we had a nice moment
buddy.
for a moment.
Because
is that the first F-bomb of 2019?
This is my new energy for 2019. Get on the fuck you train for 2019. If I can't jive and josh with these guys, then like our group DMs can be a war zone sometimes. And it's all in good fun. I want to make sure to clarify for anyone that listens. These are all good-natured jokes. I do not want BioWare to fail. I am not some anti-old man screaming at the clouds about people playing multiplayer games.
Get off my lawn!
Yeah, no. I'm not one of those people. I just like to have a good time. So I just wanted to clarify that because...
Yeah, you like to have a good time.
If anyone hasn't figured out I like being an asshole outside of my usual Twitter shenanigans, then you don't really know me that well. Join an Xbox party with me. It'll be an enlightening scenario for you.
Counterpoint. Do not join in an Xbox party with him.
You know what, Sam? I've got some fine words for you tomorrow morning in the Xbox party.
All right, cool.
But no, moving on. We're going to get into our news because that took a fair bit of time. I knew it would because we've been playing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of games out right now. We're going to breeze through the news. There's some stuff that we're going to cover more in depth than others. This one's a bit of a more personal one for me. THQ Nordic has another stone in their Infinity Gauntlets. They're at Gauntlets by now with all the stuff they're buying. They've got to have like 6 now. They're just like, we got like 6 of these on the wall now. So THQ Nordic, with no surprise, acquired Warhorse Studios, despite their head developer Daniel Vavra saying, we will never be... that they've been acquired by THQ Nordic. The acquisition includes 100% of the 100% of the shares in Warhorse Studios, as well as all intellectual property rights for Kingdom Come Deliverance as well, which at the time of the acquisition, they announced that game has sold over 2 million copies. And it's also interesting to note that their DLC pack, as it was promoted on by Twitter from Rick, if anyone's familiar with Rick, he's quite active on Twitter, that they've sold 500,000 of the DLC packs as well, which is really impressive. If you sell 2 million copies of a game and you sell 500,000 DLC packs, that's a really impressive spread. And shout out to the guys at Warhorse Studios for bringing back cost-effective DLC. They've literally been playing out 10 to 20 hour story DLCs for like $6 to $7, which is really, really great. And I'm really glad to see this game succeed. I really can't wait to see what they do next. Any thoughts on THQ Nordic acquiring Warhorse?
It's wonderful. I think it's a great thing to see that, get them recognized like that.
For sure. Eric, Sam?
Eric, anything or?
No, I mean, I've not played Kingdom Come. I do admire what Warhorse has done, like with taking the game from where it started to where it is. So now seeing them have a little bit more stability, security behind them, it'll be interesting to see what they can do with that and go further. Not that I didn't want to play Kingdom Come; it's just one of those things I just haven't gotten around to yet.
Sure,
And,
exactly.
yeah.
Aaron,
Yeah,
I'm telling you
in
right now, it is another one of those 120-hour games in your backlog.
I have enough of those right now. I have enough of those.
I was just gonna say, like, I know you sat down with The Witcher and all that fun stuff and Bloodborne right now, but when you play Kingdom Come Deliverance, you gotta have the same mentality and be ready for the same length or longer, because oh boy, that game has a lot to offer.
And you guys probably understand this. When you're something like an OCD gamer, you can't just blow through the campaign and just hey, let the chips fall where they may. I put about 60 hours. I'm done. I gotta go everywhere.
If I'm going to play something, I'm going to enjoy it. I almost always take longer than how long to beat.com says I should on playing a game. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I want to actually enjoy it. I want to be immersed in the world. I want to take my time, find the secrets, whether I decide to max out the achievements and trophies or not.
Yeah. That usually falls. If they start to kind of come natural, and I feel like I'm almost there, then that gets added to the list of OCD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and you know what? Kingdom Come Deliverance is also like a world of detail. Like they put a lot of small little detail things into the game. So I know once you get into it, you're going to be, I think, fairly impressed.
Well, that may be one of those next generation when the the remaster of the whatever you call it for the next generation is going to be. I'll be like, all right, did I clear out most of the backlog? All right, now I have time for Kingdom Come.
And the thing is with Kingdom Come Deliverance is I will say the main campaign is okay, but it's all the different side things that actually make it a great game.
Yeah,
that's true. Different side quests. You go going and getting drunk here, or going and helping this poor sap out. Yeah,
just the way that game was structured, because it's a period piece and not fantasy, is just it's so unique. Like it has all the classic RPG tropes. Like if you took it out of its setting and put it in a fantasy setting, it'd be a very generic game. But since it's set in an actual period history piece, and they actually went through the progress of going, okay, this is accurate. This is accurate. It's really weird. And you want to do the side quests because it gives you a better idea of the setting. It's a really good game. I can't say enough about it. It's difficult, it's fun, and I also have to admit the developers have been absolutely amazing. When I was playing through that game, if I had questions, the main Warhorse account would respond. Like if you tweet about Kingdom Come Deliverance, they're on there like, hey, what are you doing? Are you having problems? Or they're really great development team, and I couldn't be happier to see them find financial security with THQ.
Yeah, same. THQ Nordic is one of those companies that is really gearing up for next gen, the way they're buying IPs, the way they're buying studios. I'm not sure how they have some 37, 48, whatever games in development. It's an absurd number. But you know what? If it's working for them, good for them. Darksiders 3 did not light the sales charts on fire, to say the least, but they're saying it was profitable. And the Darksiders 4 is all but guaranteed. So, it's like, what?
Nice. Good.
Good for you. I don't know how you did that.
Right.
But good for you. Congratulations. Awesome. And just really quick, Nick, I'll just say I'm very happy for Warhorse. Some of the guys I know who work there, I'm glad that they have financial security. It's good to hear.
For sure. The big thing to note with THQ Nordic, and everyone sits there and go, well, I don't understand how they're breaking even. The key thing is they seem to understand something that companies don't seem to understand anymore, and that not every game needs $100 million of marketing behind it. If you cut out the huge overwhopping marketing budget and the TV spots and all this stuff, the sales expectations for a game are astronomically lower.
Mm-hmm.
And Darksiders 3, like, I don't believe it's a big development team. They didn't spend a lot of money on it. They made a game the fans were happy with. And the fans bought it, and they found success with it.
Yeah, because the Darksiders franchise has a strong following, whether people won't understand that or not. Like, It has a strong cult following.
Yes, it does.
I'm one of them. So
it's one of the only game series really that has tried to do the Zelda thing, really.
Right. And it's actually pretty good at it, you know, and then they try to vary it up, you know, with Darksiders 2. And it seems like Darksiders 3 is like their super hack and slash version. So it's like, if you think about each one, they're all kind of doing something different, right? But I think THQ Nordic is kind of playing the whole penny stock game. It's like, we'll gather up all these penny stocks, kind of build a portfolio on it, and then kind of see where things go, right?
Right,
at the
exactly.
same time, it's like land. It's like we're buying properties that people may not see value in, but it kind of gives us some chips to play with later, because the one thing that seems to be harder to come by are good IP.
Exactly. And new IP are very hard to pitch. You have to
Exactly.
do it perfectly right. Not saying it can't be done before anyone tweets at me, but it is difficult. It is proven. It's harder and harder to do now.
Right.
And, you know, their financial model, I joked in our YouTube chat that I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
but
funny,
it is. But I'm being dead serious. That's exactly what it is, because it's like, oh, well, if one of these studios doesn't pan out, it's like, it wasn't that expensive by comparison. I mean, or if one of these IPs doesn't pan out, it's like, okay, we paid $30,000 for it. Like that was chump change. It's okay. I'd say Warhorse is probably the most expensive acquisition they've made.
Mm-hmm.
By far.
And at the same time, I think we've seen evidence, and maybe, I'm not saying this is what happened with them. Maybe somebody said nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
Mm-hmm.
So going into the future, it's like one of these like IP that we had that we're sitting on, either somebody's going to say, hey, this genre is like become popular again. Remember that game that was XYZ? Who owns that? THQ Nordic.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically. That's what's going to happen.
It's also important to note two things about THQ Nordic. A, I think they're single-handedly going to bring AA gaming back.
Right.
Next generation. And B, they're run by the epitome of a super billionaire supervillain. Like, if you Google who owns THQ Nordic, the gentleman is a billionaire in Europe. He's like one of the richest men in Eastern Europe. And he's just eccentric. He's like the Elon Musk of Eastern Europe. He's like, I'll buy that. Is it worth anything? No, I just want it.
He also cruises the rooftop at night.
Some really interesting moves. And they've been, all these IPs they've bought, they've made, like, Time Splitters is on Switch. They went, we can make a Switch version of that. They put that on there. I think, if anyone remembers a game, I think it was called Sphinx. It was a PS2 game. I loved it. They put that on Switch.
Dude, everything is cyclical. Gaming has high points, low points, fads, everything, right? So where the AA market kind of fell out like this generation because it was all about multiplayer this and, you know, shooter that and battle royale this and that. It's a long game, man. Gaming, like Sam has said many times, is theoretically still in its infancy. It's getting older. It's going to go into its teenage years. Everything comes around, and then you have new audiences who are looking for something new. Nothing wrong. I mean, you buy these things for cheap, man.
Exactly. Exactly. And things are going to come back around in vogue. You know, just because this generation has had tons of big multiplayer games and it's the generation Battle Royale took off,
right?
We've still had some incredible big RPGs come out.
Yeah.
I'd argue some of the best ever.
Yeah. And not to go like off on a tangent and go, the other way, but you look at what the Outer Worlds, I think it was just talked about on, I don't know if it was Sacred Symbols, one of them. Oh, no, it might have been a podcast Unlocked was saying that that's supposed to be like a 15-hour RPG.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more like 25, 30 if you do everything. But
nonetheless, that sounds attractive.
That's fine. Yes, I said that. I saw a bunch of people complaining, and they were like, Horizon Zero Dawn is bigger. I'm like, no, that's okay. That's good. A smaller RPG is fine. Just that's one of the reasons I like Metro Exodus. I mean, it's a single player shooter, but it's also open. But that thing is hard to qualify for a genre. But the point is, it's like it's longer than the average shooter. It's like a good 15, 20 hours most likely.
Right.
But that's okay. That's perfect. Not too short.
I think you're going to see more and more of that too, Sam, to be honest with you, man, because again, there's so many games, right? I think so. It's kind of like you're always going to have that game that's going to be X amount of hours to finish, and you're going to always have that person that's looking for that. But in a world where you just got Apex Legends, right? You got Anthem, you got all these games that take time commitment, you know, to play with your friends and this and that. You're going to get more and more people that are going to say, you know what, I do want to play a single player game. I don't have hundreds of hours to commit to it. You know, get in, tell me your story, let me play around. If you want to do a DLC, that's fine, and we'll move on. Charge me this, put it in Game Pass, whatever you want to do, and let's move on.
Look, I'll say this and time again, this whole 100 to 150 hour RPG obsession that we seem to have sunk into in this generation. People are like, oh, it harkens back to the old RPGs.
No,
it really doesn't, because I looked up, because I have my own personal curiosity. Because everyone knows I'm obsessed with Baldur's Gate 2. That's the RPG standard for me. Okay. I looked it up on time to beat, because I've never kept track of how long I played my playthroughs. But for the main story playthrough, it's 52 hours. If you do everything that's possible in the game, it's 74 hours to 100 hours. That's for everything. There's like hundreds of side quests in that game. Like, it was an 8-disc PC game. And it was barely 100 hours.
Yeah.
I see, we're oversaturated with, like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Looks like an amazing game. Looks like I'd absolutely love it. But I don't want to sink 100 hours into an Assassin's Creed game. I miss when Assassin's Creed games were 20 hours long.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
It's worth it, damn it.
It's worth it.
Were Assassin's Creed games ever 20 hours long? I mean, maybe the first one.
The first two were.
That was like 30, 40 hours.
Yeah.
How bad were you guys at Assassin's Creed games?
No, I mean, Assassin's Creed 2, I 100% of that, and I think I was about 30-something hours in. I do think the first one was about 15, 20 hours.
Yeah, I'll give you the first one. You're stretching it.
They got bigger.
You're crazy beyond that.
Assassin's Creed 2, according to timetobeat.com, on PlayStation 3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One, main story is 18 hours. Main plus extra is 25 hours. If you get everything, it's a max of 30 hours.
Okay, so like I said, you're stretching it. It fits, but you're stretching it. And then beyond that...
for idle time, sir.
But I think...
idle time.
Yeah, exactly. I think what happened, too, is, and again, I think as we go forward, you're starting to see, you know, evidence that a tight game with a good story, whatever the case may be, can be X amount of hours under, you know, 30, 40 hours. I think what you started getting was games, like single-player games, feeling that they had to compete with multiplayer games in the value proposition. It's like, well, it's 60 hours, so if you're done with it in 30 hours, it doesn't really feel like a value. So it's got to be 100+ hours. And a lot of times, if you really think about it, in most cases, that's padding.
Most.
In not every case.
Tiny handful of games have justified it, such as The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
One that padded, Sam, you might agree with this.
Number 8 now for Sam. We're cutting you off now.
No, one that kind of padded, and Sam may agree with this, is Final Fantasy 15. I'm not getting any more vegetables.
But that game is padded. That game has some padding. And like I've said before we move on, it's amazing that I can love Final Fantasy 15 as much as I do, while at the same time saying, yeah, this is wrong with it. And that. And that. Yeah, and that one over there.
Look, I'll throw this guy. I got to throw this throwback in here since we're talking about like last generation kind of stuff, and you're talking about Final Fantasy 15. I went back and my friend sent me this trailer. My co-leader in my clan sent me this trailer. He's like, do you remember this ad? And it was the Far Cry 3 ad where it was the quote from IGN. It's like Skyrim with guns. And I completely forgot that was a huge selling point for Far Cry 3 from Ubisoft. Was the main tagline was they're like, it's Skyrim with guns. And I
now wait a minute here. We gotta stop the clock. We have to rewind. Hold on. Skyrim was accused of being Fallout New Vegas, but with swords instead of guns. If Far Cry 3 is Skyrim, but with guns, does that mean Far Cry 3 is Fallout New Vegas with even more guns?
Stop. I saw Anchorman in the chat. I can't deal with this now. All right, we'll move on to the next piece of news, which is a piece of news that I'm going to probably screech a bit for 2 minutes.
Yeah, let's not divulge too long onto it because I know we'll all go down that rabbit hole for probably a while.
All right, so
oh boy,
Activision Blizzard had their best financial year in history as a company, so they did the most natural thing possible, and they fired 800 people.
Perhaps they should die and decrease the surplus population.
So these are Activision's financial results. $2.38 billion revenue for the fourth quarter of 2018. Revenue was up 7% over 2017 for a $7.5 billion total for 2018. Activision, $2.8 billion revenue. Blizzard, $2.3 billion revenue. King, $2.1 billion. And operating income of $2 billion over $1.3 billion in 2017. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy has sold over 10 million copies. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 sold more than Black Ops 3, which was their best-selling Call of Duty in history. 2019 revenue is expected to be down by 13% or $6. I think that's a typo error. A new Call of Duty game will launch in the fourth quarter of 2019 with a campaign. I feel like they threw that in there to be like, hey, at least they'll have a campaign. Am I right?
Yeah, right.
So,
So what you're saying is there's some change in their coin purse.
They're like, we're going to double down on development, but we're going to fire 800 developers.
Right. And not to mention give a $15 million bonus to a guy who didn't even start work yet.
Yeah.
Yep. So, no kidding.
Activision slowly but surely ending up into the same gray area that I have David Cage in.
They may be worse right now.
Like I'm so mad at Activision, I might go buy Detroit Become Human.
Think about it, Nick. David Cage didn't fire anyone; he just kept them there and berated them. They still had jobs. He just treated them like garbage and talked and made fun of them and bullied them.
Slapped them around a little bit.
Look what you did.
Left dick pics on their desk or something like that. I don't know. Whatever was going on.
It's pretty bad when you can.
That's horrible, man.
It's pretty bad when you can use a situation to make David Cage look like a decent human being.
Yeah. But think about it for a minute. How egregious that is. You had an earnings call where you talked about how much dough you made, and in the same hour and a half, 2 hours, drop the hammer.
Yeah, it's like read the room. Read the room where you open up with that, but you're like, oh, but we're going to be cutting all these people. Like,
how far do you have to fall, Sam? How far do you have to be away from humanity at that point?
It's absolutely gross. Like, I'm going to steal a quote from Jez Corden, honestly, because I 100% agree with him. He said, the problem is, he said, EA is merely incompetent the way they handle a lot of stuff. They are merely handling things the wrong way, even though they might legitimately want to handle it the right way. Activision just plain doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look, the thing is that the defense behind this, and Activision even came out and clarified this, is they said they were expecting weak finances because of lack and coming in 2019. And my response to that is, who the fuck is responsible for that? Oh, the guy you paid $15 million to as a bonus. But you're sitting there going, oh, we got to prepare for the weathering of the storm because we're not making the right decisions. So we need to cut people preemptively. No, I absolutely. And this whole, like, we could dive into the whole topic of video game unionization and all that crap. All I got to say is American labor laws are garbage. Y'all aren't protected the way you should be. Video game developers shouldn't need a union. Your law should just cover workers better.
You know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm just saying that it was really important.
Right now, like, the U.S. is almost like EA. The EA, like, just incompetent.
Ooh. Yeah, it's just I have the benefit of living in Canada, and there's certain things that I'm used to because our labor laws are pretty comprehensive about how companies can treat you and everything else.
Yeah.
But there really isn't a barrier between you guys and upper level fuckery, for a lack of a better word. And it needs change. There needs to be an overhaul. There needs to be change. And smug little shits like Kotick sitting there on a conference call referring to developers and people that made games for this company upwards of 15 to 20 years for some of these developers, and referring to them as cost savings and not people is disgusting and abhorrent. And anyone that supports Activision past this point seriously needs a head check. And that's all I'll say on it, is because soon as a CEO comes in and starts referring to its employees as costs, that's a fucking problem. And I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And people can sit there and talk garbage about EA for their loot boxes, their shitty business practices, and everything else. But god damn it, at least they elect their developers and treat them with some degree of respect. You look at how much BioWare has been allowed to breathe with Anthem, like Gamble and all those guys have been so open and so forthcoming with information and fighting against EA's bad reputation to sell Anthem to people. And they've worked their tail off about it. Activision just doesn't even come across like they care. They don't even care about the games they're developing. They don't care about anything. They just like, how can we line our pockets? They've got 6 people in their upper management that took in over $27 million this year. But we can't afford these developers because of our incompetent business decisions. Mm-hmm. When you've got people like Nintendo directors that took pay cuts during the Wii U era so that people could keep their jobs. You've got Ubisoft, who develops a lot in Canada because Canada gives obscene amounts of tax breaks to developers and things like that. There's ways for these companies to succeed. And it's hard for me to feel sorry for Activision when they're like, oh, we only made $2.8 billion this quarter. We were supposed to make 3.1. Oh, I guess you should have released another couple of Overwatch characters or done something for once instead of just peddling us the same 5 service games that you have for the past decade.
Right. But you notice too, I think we talked about this the other night when this was announced. It's like the trend is, as gamers, we don't band together to let them know that this kind of bullshit is not going to stand. We're not going to deal with it. We're not going to put up with it.
Yeah.
Instead, we want to sit and fight about, game like Crackdown 3 and stuff like that. And argue with each other over things at the end of the day, which don't really mean anything. I should say mean anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't matter to the bottom line. What Activision is doing matters to the bottom line.
Shout out to Ivan in the chat for saying that during my speech that the Russian anthem should have been playing. I will do a video edit of that. I will edit that. That needs to be a thing. We're going to move on to our next topic. It infuriates me because I've been at the brunt of a corporation similar to Activision before. I spent 5 years at the bottom rung of a company like that, which I will not name. And it sucks because you can't find another job. You stuck where you are and you just get treated like garbage. It sucks. But moving on to more happier topics. So Days Gone got a new trailer. Did any of you guys see the wedding trailer?
I did, yes.
I did not.
Well, let's just basically say Days Gone's another third-person action game where you need to feel sorry for your character.
Counterpoint. I've been sharing videos of this game with my mom, and she's been getting steadily more and more interested. And was like, "Oh, okay, what's that? Oh, okay, what's that?" I showed her this trailer, and now she's hooked.
There you go.
Just saying.
See, the thing is I can't fault anyone. I'm just really getting I told Sam this in DMs. Every other trailer for Days Gone gets me hyped for it. There'll be a trailer, I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is cool. And then there's another trailer, I'm like, oh my God, stop. And this was an oh my God, stop trailer because I'm so tired of every game that comes out. I don't want to have to care for every character that's ever been made in a video game. The only reason I want to play Days Gone is because it's a zombie game. I'm sorry, Sony Bend. You can call them freakers, twerkers, whatever you want to call them. There's zombies. I don't care what you call them. They're zombies.
That sounds like something that would be in Brutal Legend.
Oh my God. Do not bring up one of my favorite games of all time. My man Jack Black needs to be in more video games.
Dude, I love that game.
Damn right.
Love that game.
Damn right.
Yeah. I just want to play the game because the gameplay looks really fun. I like the core gameplay loop they're going for. But damn it, can we not just like, I get we have to have a story and everything else, but I just feel like they're trying, it feels forced at this point. Like, I'm not sure if it's because I've seen the game for so long, there's a certain expectation that I have going in. Like, I know the gameplay's tight. I've talked to Fame about it. I've talked to Sam about it. I've talked to PlayStation Bra about it. I know the gameplay is tight. And for me, gameplay is 90% of the battle. But the story just, it doesn't matter to me because they have one of the most generic main characters I've ever seen. And they could prove me wrong. And this could be a great story system, but I feel like it's going to be a really generic story crammed into a really good gameplay cycle, which isn't terrible, but I don't know. What are you guys getting from Days Gone at this point?
I think that it's going to be about tackling grief and about learning to let go.
Well, I guess for me, I'm more excited where I just like a dark kind of zombie-esque whatever post-apocalyptic game. I'm just a bit of a sucker for those types, and seeing Days Gone, it's a pretty unique, different story. So I'm just overall really interested in it, and knowing it's coming from the PlayStation kind of first-party lineup sort of thing. I'm expecting a pretty damn good quality game. So.
See, and I think that's part of the thing too, is I'm so excited for this game because it's Sony Bend and it's on a console, because they basically made the Hallmark Vita games. Like, they basically made almost all the games outside of Persona 4 a reason to buy a Vita.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm excited to see what they can do. And this game's been in development for roughly 7 years. So I'm very intrigued to see what it's going to be. What about you, Eric? I've actually never heard you talk too much about Days Gone. Where are you sitting with Days Gone right now?
I talked about Days Gone, but I read the room very wrong. And what Sam just said a moment ago is telling of why I kind of thought it was going to be more in the idea of like an arcade type shooter from what they showed early. But, you know, Sam corrected that and told me, yeah, it's going to be, they're looking to go story, meaning, dark in some ways. And yeah, since I didn't watch the trailer and just hear what you guys are saying about it, yeah, it sounds like exactly what it's going for. And you shouldn't be surprised. I mean, Sony this generation has gone for, and even, I should say just this generation, but with The Last of Us and beyond, they have these moments where they really want to do things that hit you at the heart.
Exactly. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it misses, but overall, I think even the most cynical of us can agree there's more hits than misses. So it's at least worth giving a glance. And at the same time, whether that's a hit or miss, it looks like they have a rock-solid arcade-esque gameplay loop, which is still there.
I don't want it to lean too much into, because if it's been in this development cycle for so long, it could definitely have like that, oh, we want to do kind of what the Walking Dead was doing on TV.
Yes. I totally agree.
I don't want any more of that.
I hope this is not a more recent thing. That is one thing I will agree with you guys. I hope this is more of a, we're getting extremely close to launch, only a couple of months away, let's start opening up about the story thing. I hope this is not a, oh, this game got repeatedly delayed, let's try to add more to the story. Like, no, do what you were originally doing, whatever that is. But we'll see.
Yeah, but like Jared said, though, coming out of the Sony first party, like Sam said, most of them have been, you know, more hits than misses. So I do think on that level, I think there's something to be said about the fact that they did pull this game back. They haven't been afraid to delay it. I think they've been, when it comes to like their new IP, they've been very careful about that. You know, they don't want to just kind of push it out there and let it be whatever it's going to be. They kind of want to, hey, if we need to pull it back, let it cook a little bit more, let's do that. So I'm hoping that turns into, you know, a meaningful game. I'm hoping it turns into a new, truly a new IP for them.
Yeah. I know, I'll say this preemptively because I get a lot of flack for criticizing Sony's game direction a lot. The main reason is I'm just not a huge third-person action game fan, and that's predominantly how they choose to convey their stories. I've liked 98% of the games that PS4 has put out this generation. The Order 1886, God of War, all those games, like most of those games will end up in my top 10 of this generation games. I don't think Days Gone is going to be an exemption. Like, you're talking to a guy who loves State of Decay 2. You're talking to a guy who loves the Dead Rising franchise. I love zombie games because there's two different styles of zombie games. You have things like The Last of Us, where you're telling a super serious story where the focus isn't necessarily the zombies, but more the people and how they endure. Same kind of thing with like Telltale's Walking Dead season 1. I don't know how the other seasons panned out, but that first season, Lee is one of the best written video game characters in my mind. And how you played him really reflected what kind of person he was. And there's tons of room for super serious games like that. And then I also like the zany arcade aspects of like Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead, that kind of like B-movie feel to them. I just really love zombies. So I'm going to love Days Gone. I just wish they weren't so adamant about it not being a zombie game, because they're like, oh, they're not zombies. They sleep and eat. And I'm like, but all the gameplay footage you've showed, they're just mindlessly chasing you. So, like, I don't know if, like, Sony Ben's going to release a trailer to prove me wrong where a zombie sleeps and then wakes up and then orders an Uber Eats and gets some food, or what?
They're family units like an I Am Legend.
Oh, my God.
Hey, you know what? You
the
laugh,
one with the real book ending, not the movie ending.
Yeah,
you laugh, but I'm actually interested in more games pulling more from I Am Legend, and I'm referring to the movie, like them. You know, that was one of the things I loved about Dying Light 2, what I saw behind the scenes E3, like them huddling in dark buildings during the day. Like, I like that. I don't know, but I'll be honest, I'm actually a fan of the I Am Legend movie. Don't attack me, please.
Actually,
I think the other ending to that, and I think it came from the book, was like the whole thing is they looked at him as the enemy and they were trying to stop him from taking them to like the experiment on them.
Right.
You know, so
I loved I Am Legend. That was one of those Will Smith movies. We're not getting into that topic, but I could spout off about how much I love Will Smith for hours. About how he was the only reason Suicide Squad was even worth the first half hour of that movie.
Well, I can think of another one.
Oh yeah,
a much better reason than Will Smith.
Lordy,
we don't want to be part of that, but I can think of one better.
Fair.
And it wasn't Captain Boomerang.
Fair, but fair.
Well, you're not a Captain Boomerang fan?
I'm assembling a team to take on Superman, featuring Captain Boomerang.
So they found a guy who can throw a boomerang.
Yeah,
that's what you are.
And that stops Superman. Oh, it's a distraction? Oh, okay.
Are you Captain Australia?
Oh, that's one of the worst things to happen to Australia since the Great Emu War.
Yeah, man. So yeah. But I get your point. I get your point.
We're going to slip into some more positive news, actually. Something that I was actually super impressed with, as people who know me know I'm overly harsh on Nintendo for no found reason other than I was a Wii U owner. Nintendo actually had a really good Direct to kick off the year. Did any of you guys get a chance to catch it, or no?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Well, I would hope so, because if I watched it, I don't own a Switch. Y'all should be watching it because y'all have Switches.
It was a good Direct. They just dropped the ball by not announcing Devil's Third. Devil's Third remake.
Here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to say about the Direct. I went in with absolutely zero expectations, and as a result, I thought, okay, cool. decent 35 minutes. Good couple of games. I'll play Link's Awakening. I never played that before, so yeah, I'm interested in that. It's just one of those things where people, for some reason, they do this to themselves. They hype up every direct into the stratosphere, and it can never, ever be reached. And it's like, why are you doing this to yourselves? Don't get me wrong. I want Metroid Prime Trilogy too.
It's mini E3, Sam. It's mini E3.
Yeah, I think that's going to be... I was hoping that they would announce it because I know it's... I'm pretty sure it's there. Almost 100% sure it's there. But they just got to figure out the timing on how they want to space that out now with Metroid Prime 4 being restarted pretty much, right? So I didn't... I mean, I was kind of hoping they would announce it, but I didn't think they would. So yeah, it was the same thing, Sam. Honestly, it wasn't overhype about the direct. It wasn't like an overhype situation. I was just happy they were doing a direct, kind of seeing what some of the roadmap is for the early part of the year, getting into E3. And I think they kind of set some of that up. So I
feel like Metroid, the whole Metroid series at this point is like that cute girl in high school that hits on you but has no interest in you.
Yeah.
The fans are like, so we're gonna get a Metroid game, right? And they're like, yeah, maybe.
They've always been that way with Metroid, though.
I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere on Reset Era, they were like, oh yeah, the Metroid Prime Trilogy remaster is already done. It's finished. We're just trying to figure out when we want to drop it. I'm like,
the way it goes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
I swear, sometimes Nintendo does a lot of things right. But there's at some points with them, I just sit there and go, do you hate money?
They definitely don't hate money. We know that.
No, they love their money.
But here's the funny thing. I'm pretty sure for them, they sit back. You would think, just from hearing things on Twitter, that Metroid was the super tentpole franchise for them, and it's not.
That's the funny thing. It's actually an outlier. It's kind of like Forza Horizon pre-Forza Horizon 3, where it's it's a good franchise, it's a good series, but it's it was never a pillar of
right.
It was
the only reason I know the Metroid franchise is because of Zero Suit Samus. I'm going to be real with everybody here.
I mean, that's fair.
No, I say that, and I say that as somebody who absolutely loves Metroid. Super Metroid. I mean, even the OG in Metroid, but Super Metroid, Samus Returns.
Metroid Prime games are my jam. They're my
jam. Metroid Prime games are amazing. I can't wait for them to do them on the Switch.
Oh, they're so good.
So there is a rabid fan base who is always screaming at them for it. But I think for them, they look at it but they look at the numbers. That's what they like the money. They look at the numbers. Anytime we do one of these, it's not like it goes gangbuster.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe now it will. Maybe with the Switch and everything, it will be that. Especially if they put out the Prime trilogy. So but yeah, I think it's the squeaky wheel type of thing.
Yeah.
It's it sounds a lot louder, but it's not really the car's not messed up, it's just the wheel is loud.
Yeah.
So they're just
also gaming audiences are growing, Eric. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but think about it. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is by far the most successful Smash by a country mile.
Right. Right, which is crazy because we talked about this too. Is it definitely is. But it's roughly the same game as the Wii U game.
Yeah, just more characters. More characters and more stages. That's it.
But you're right. The audience it's a different place all of a sudden. It's that's what I said. I think if they get it right, if they align Metroid Prime trilogy right, and maybe it's the thing that it is done, but now they're kind of because Metroid Prime 4 isn't going to be readily available. Maybe they want to add a little more to it. Maybe they want to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't bank on that because I always feel like Nick said, Nintendo is weird. You think that they'll celebrate something and then they kind of just put out whatever, But
Nintendo, the type of company, if they have a 20th anniversary of a franchise, they'll wait till halfway through the next year to release the anniversary pack.
Yeah, or they'll do this bomb thing in Japan, and then here it's you guys don't really like Nintendo. Come on, it's you don't really want this nice, beautiful steel book and pin case, and you're really underestimating your American fans.
Which is funny because with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, they kind of finally listen to their fans a little bit, and they're probably oh, maybe we should do this a little bit more often, guys. You see how well this game's doing? Is it because we listen to our fans? It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we should do that with our other games. And if they actually do, if they're consistent, because like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is basically the best fan service game they've came out with in a while for the Switch. That just completely blew up next to like Breath of the Wild or something like that. But they just have so many IPs that they haven't handled correctly that they could. That if they just really double down on them, kind of like how PlayStation is with their games, man, look out, because they'll sell gangbusters.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I totally agree with that, man.
Yeah, I think Nintendo's doing a good job. I've really been impressed with what they've been doing lately of balancing their own IPs along with third-party support and pulling stuff to the Switch that makes sense. I've never like the Zelda announcement's really cool. I'm interested in that.
Me too. That looks really good. I think that's a cool art style, a good direction for them to go in.
I thought it was
very suiting.
I thought it was a unique spin. I'm interested. I love the old school Legends of Zelda games, like the top-down ones.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of those style of games. The Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 exclusive looks like it'll be fun for fans of that. Hellblade coming to Switch, that was weird.
I don't think that's
surprised.
People
Actually,
are making it out to be. It was already a multi-plat game.
No. I'm not surprised because of that. I'm surprised that the Switch doesn't explode when it tries to graphically.
Fair enough.
Like if I just imagine you're gonna load up Hellblade on the Switch and it's gonna be graphically done like Celeste. You're just like, oh, okay. Which in itself, like a 16-bit Hellblade would be dope. I'd actually think that I'd be okay with that. Actually,
no.
It's just Jared's like,
you cut that talk out right now, sir.
The one thing that really pulled me in, and it's the stupidest thing, is the stupidest thing in the world. Super Mario Maker 2. I love watching people play Impossible Mario Maker levels and complete them. I'm not good at it, but I like watching other people do it.
It's a new form of torture. I'm sorry, I can't condone that.
It's interesting, man. Like nobody's really talking about it, but that's like the one of the games that people have been saying, how are they going to pull that off? Because that game was very dependent upon the stylus.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, wasn't that like a big hit on the Wii U because of how the Wii U worked?
It was a huge hit. So it's kind of interesting that I didn't see like much more fever around that. I think the reason being is for a lot of people, the Zelda announcement kind of like covered it, kind of drowned it a bit.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening.
That new Platinum Games IP looks dope, but as Sam said in the YouTube comments, how many more projects is Platinum Games going to take on at the same time?
I'm telling you guys, saw B Money saying the same thing. Like they need to chill a little. Okay, they really do. They're working on how many games? They've had a couple of games turn out really badly this generation. Even I love Nier Automata, but there were other games that didn't. They've had one game canceled, and there was a whole bunch of drama with that. And they recently removed themselves from the development of another. Like, maybe chill a little.
They're in charge of the Bayonetta 3 development as well, aren't they?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe moving themselves from that game is like them chilling. I think where Platinum started falling apart was taking on too many licensed IP.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
But Astral Chain to me looks like what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were definitely like, hey, we'll take whatever and we'll do whatever. And I think the one game that came out of that was that the Transformers game with the Generation 1 stuff. Mm-hmm. One that was cell shaded was an amazing game.
Mm-hmm.
But the Turtles game, all that stuff. What happened with Scalebound, obviously. Like you said, Nier turned out good, or better than good. But looking at Astral Chain, to me, that looks like what they do best.
So it looks closer to a Nier Automata versus a Ninja Turtles situation.
Absolutely.
And that's fair, and that is a fair point, Aaron.
What I want them to do,
it'll probably be okay. I'm simply saying I have not seen any other studio, to my knowledge, ever take on and disregard so many projects in the span of just a few years. So
and I think outside of Nier, if you kind of think about it, they've been kind of quiet. It wasn't like before, like when they were pushing out a licensed IP like every month. So I think they have been a little bit more quiet. So maybe that speaks to what they've been doing, because I didn't even know that they were working on Astral Chain, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, to be brutally honest, all Platinum needs to do is they need to scrap every IP they're working on right now, make a sequel to Metal Gear Revengeance, and then that's fine.
Trash.
Rules of nature.
Trash.
Jared, nature,
Jared, we will meet in the octagon.
Yeah, like literally.
I'm down. I'm totally down.
I will
nano machine, son.
If there is any Metal Gear Revengeance slander, me and Eric, if we ever all meet up for a group event at E3, PAX, or whatever, there will be live footage of me handing Jared's own butt. You hold him, I hit him.
And it would be like WWE. Choke slamming Jared through a table.
I'm a whole lot stronger than you think, just saying.
You imagine? I could just see it now. PAX East. The Kind of Funny Games table. There's Greg Miller doing a spiel, and Jared comes flying into frame through the table.
I'll be waving and smiling as I'm flying through the air. Hello, fellas.
So before we get into our final discussion topic for today, there's an interesting piece of development stuff I saw on, I think it was PC Gamer.
Uh-huh.
It was also mentioned on Sacred Symbols as well, I think. So everybody's been making a meme about Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. Did anybody know that Mr. X, no matter where you are, even if he's not in the area that you are, he still roams?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Did not know that.
Yes, he does.
And that is so absolutely unnerving to me, because I'm looking at my console. It's not even on right now. I'm like, he's wandering around that police station right now.
Forever looking for you, Nick. Has a strange
every second you are not moving, Mr. X is only getting closer.
He has his little picture of you in his pocket. Every time he can't find you in 5 minutes, he pulls it out and goes, I miss this fella. I'm so alone.
Oh, the amount of times that I got sucker punched doing a puzzle from that guy. Oh my god. The library, like Leon playthrough A, when you're like moving the freaking bookshelves.
I love it. It's great.
The amount of times I'd be like, okay, I'm good. I don't hear him, and all of a sudden, poof.
Man, I played that game with my headphones on, and all I can hear is his footsteps. The worst part is, even if he's like a floor below or above me, or like 10 rooms away, I can still hear his footsteps, and it's so nerve-wracking because I don't know if he's around the corner or not, because the sound, like the distance for the sound, it doesn't work very well. So I can't tell if he's either 10 feet away or 100 feet away. So every time I go around the corner, it's just...
You remember doing the clock tower?
Yes.
For Leon, and you're on that third floor where you can see the other 2 floors, and you can hear his footsteps, but you don't know if he's on the 3rd floor with you or on the 2nd. Like literally, remake is literally Anxiety, the game.
Yeah, I know. I had to turn it up a few times because it would build up my anxiety too high. Because I'd be like, okay, Mr. X, you need to stop. I need to get past this point. Mr. X needs to leave me alone.
My wife clowned me endlessly because I'd literally jump out of my chair or drop my controller and squeal like a little
My fiance, she doesn't play those type of games, but she'll come and sit down beside me and watch a little bit. And like it freaked her out. It got her nerves, like it set her on edge enough to the point where she couldn't even sit down and watch anymore. She's like, no. Okay, you know what? Can't do this anymore. I gotta leave.
It was cold as hell the week Resident Evil 2 came out. I went out to get pizza. I stopped playing, went out to grab pizza for me and my wife. I literally went to go into the pizza shop, and there was literally like a big 6'5" guy in a trench coat with a hat on. I was just like, no, I'm like,
no, you're supposed to be in the game.
He's like,
you're a person. Sorry.
I
have enough green herb in my pocket to solve this problem.
The guy just makes his own door into the pizza parlor, walking through the wall. Like, it's like,
as Nick walks back in the home door, he puts down the pizza, and Julie looks at him. What's wrong, honey? Nothing. Walks to the bathroom, locks it, gets in the shower, turns it on cold, sits down, and starts crying. I saw him in the pizza parlor.
The accuracy of that, and the fact that you know what I did when I got home, terrifying.
That guy definitely needs renter's insurance, right?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. That's the key.
So
right there.
our final discussion topic is, as a typical rule of thumb, I don't cover, I'm going to call them fanboy controversies on this podcast. But I've seen a couple industry people kind of chime their 2 cents in as well. So I figured it seems like a safe topic to talk about. So Metacritic obsession. And when I say Metacritic obsession, I don't mean in the aspect of obsessing over a game being good or necessarily obsessing over a game being bad, but allowing review scores to affect how you treat other people and how you treat other people's views. I typically, and Eric posted about this as well, and we DM'd about this, I like bad games. Okay? I like a lot of bad games. Duke Nukem Forever, love it. Dead Rising 4, love it.
I thought that was a good game.
Killzone Shadowfall, not a bad game.
Or you should say games that have been deemed to be bad.
Okay. Yeah,
I like Destiny. There we go.
Pan. The thing is that a lot of people get really absorbed. It's really easy to become absorbed in the social media space with what other people think. Because all social media is everyone throwing their ideas out there. And there can be an amazing amount of negativity or positivity depending on how something's received and everything else, but you should never allow that to shape your opinion of game, whether it's positive or negative. And I'm going to use a little example before I pass over to you guys. An example, I think The Order 1886 is a massively better game than Horizon Zero Dawn. Like,
Hot take of the month.
Metric ton better.
You laid it on the right thing.
Damn.
Eric's like, you're pushing it.
I know you're going for dramatic effect, but okay.
I know.
The thing is that, and I'm using 2 PlayStation exclusives because, God Lord, if I said, oh, I think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is a bad game, but I like State of Decay 2. Oh, my Lord, did I not want to hear that. So I used one of my favorite PlayStation games, Order 1886. I enjoyed that game. I love the hell out of the game. I love the atmosphere. I love the lore. I love the world they built. Mm-hmm. And I had a blast with that game. Horizon Zero Dawn was boring, generic. The enemy design was interesting. The combat was, well, I don't know why you gave me anything other than a bow because everything else sucked. And it was pretty. And we dunked on Mass Effect Andromeda for facial animations, but Aloy constantly looked like someone shoved a pickle in her ear. I don't care. She had the most bland facial expression. This girl literally just killed a 300-foot mech dinosaur, and she's blankly staring ahead like, what happened? I'm like, oh my God, could you phone this in any worse? That's just my opinion. Critics loved Horizon Zero Dawn. Critics dunked on The Order 1886. And the general consensus is that Horizon Zero Dawn is better than The Order 1886. But in my opinion, I like The Order 1886 better. Does that make it facts? No. And people could fight me to the end of the world and say, and people have fought me to the end of the world, that Horizon Zero Dawn is an amazing game. And I just say those people have incredibly low standards.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that even though I don't like Horizon Zero Dawn, I have no problem admitting that it's a good game. There's things I don't like about it. I find it really generic. It's not really one of a kind in any way. But it's still a good game at the end of the day because a lot of people like it. That's fine. And there's a small group of us, like 10 of us, that think The Order 1886 is one of the best PlayStation 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine too. There is no facts in opinions. The facts are Horizon Zero Dawn sold this many copies. The Order 1886 sold this many copies. Guerrilla Games has a future. Ready at Dawn. We don't know what's going on there. Those are the facts. What you think about the game is based off your experience with the game. Some games will hit you closer to home than others, and some won't. An example, The Last of Us. The story didn't have the deep impact on me that had on other people. Yet, the end of Uncharted 4, I shed a tear. I can't put a finger on why one affected me differently than the other, but they both had emotional moments, but one affected me differently than the other. It doesn't mean any of them are bad, or if you don't enjoy a game, that's fine. I just don't get the obsession with if it's not a 90 Metacritic game, you can't have fun with it. And I don't get I don't care if it's a 50 on Metacritic. It's an amazing game. Like, no one is standing The Quiet Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I only use The Quiet Man references Sam because if anyone knows Mr. Megative on Twitter, you know that's his favorite game of last.
Yeah, go message him about The Quiet Man.
Oh,
what
no.
You like The Quiet Man?
Oh, no.
Yeah, Eric, he really does. He really does.
He really does.
Direct
Message John and tell him how much you know he loves The Quiet Man.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that.
That's a trap.
But I want to get you
I've been playing too much Bloodborne to go down that hallway.
Good man.
Not going in there.
I want to get your guys' thoughts because as we've seen with Crackdown 3 specifically, there's an overcompensation on one side and overcompensation on the other. And the overcompensation that I've seen is there's people that are like, it's garbage, it's unoriginal, it's terrible. They haven't played it though.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, there's the guys that are playing it and they're trying way too hard to tell me it's enjoyable. When I enjoy a game, I'll be like, hey, I'm playing this. This is really fun. I can't take you seriously when you write a paragraph about something and be like, yeah, Crackdown 3 is great. It's amazing. It's the best game I've played this year. It's so much fun. Believe me.
Did I mention it was fun?
Hey, let me get a little closer. Did I tell you it was fun?
Yeah, maybe you didn't hear me. Yeah, exactly.
Here, let me carve it into your arm.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's terribly cringy to me, and it's terrible for me to see it from people I like. I'm like, man, this ain't it, Chief. Don't.
Kevin Spacey walks in with blood on his hands. Detectives, is this fun?
So, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, how much stock do you put in review scores?
Well, honestly, I don't really put any stock into review scores other than if I want to get someone else's opinion, I know it's there. Now, knowing that a few of us here, like we write reviews, it's really only there to, express our opinion and what we feel is good about the game or what is wrong about the game and to properly critique it without any bias towards anything. But in the end, like, you're not supposed to take it as kind of like the Bible, so to speak. You should only take it as someone else's opinion and don't let it sway your own. Always go into a game and discover for your own, because one person may say the game is bad and you may think it's good. One person may think the game is extremely good and you may go into it and think it's bad. It really all ends on your shoulders and what you truly value as fun. And that's really all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fair position. Sam?
Okay, so basically, the thing is, I think it's a thermometer. I think, to quote Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean, the code is more like guidelines rather than actual rules, but the guideline is still there for a reason. That's basically my opinion. I think it's a very good gauge to go off of, but it's not the end-all 100% thus saith the Lord be-all.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good gauge, and usually I'm pretty in tune with critics. Not always, but usually I'm pretty in tune, being a critic myself, being a reviewer myself. I'm pretty in tune with, reviewing stuff or what my opinion on a game might be. Sometimes it's a little out of tune, and that's okay. People are going to be different. People are going to have differences. That's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I love the Order 1886. far more than its Metacritic score would tell you. I enjoyed State of Decay 2, and even Sea of Thieves to a degree, more than their Metacritic scores would tell you. That's okay. But at the same time, generally speaking, there's a reason for it. Even if you don't agree with it, there's going to be a reason things have scored the way they did. There's something you need to look at, because very, very rarely are the critics all just flat out wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't think of a time off the top of my head where that's happened, except for, maybe Wolfenstein: The New Order. I'm not sure what everyone was going on with there. That game is, incredible.
Right.
But I digress. Yeah, it's a thermometer. It's a gauge. It's usually a decently accurate gauge. Don't let it rule your life either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got another comment thrown there, but I want Eric's input on this because I've had some really interesting conversations with Eric the past few days
in
regards to this. So what are your kind of thoughts on this, Eric?
Yeah, when it comes to reviews, I don't let it be the end-all, be-all, but much like what Sam was saying it's a gauge, right? So I kind of already know what's going to interest me, what doesn't interest me. I look at a game and I go, that looks like it's up my alley. So if I'm not short on it, I kind of sit back and I get a lay of the land. If people are kind of falling somewhere in the same line, I go, okay, I think I can rock with that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say within the line, if it's falling in, most people are kind of saying, well, it's somewhere between, 7 and 8. Let's say, for example, right? You kind of get an idea. If it's kind of consistent across the board, you kind of go, well, like Sam said, a lot of people are feeling this way. I don't think everybody's lying. It's kind of falling right in this line, right? I'll use like Recore as an example. When Recore was reviewed, most reviews kind of fell right in the middle, except for the clowns who just wanted to hurt things and made it like a 1 or 2, and then the ones who were overhyping it and selling it, making it a 10, right? Somewhere in the middle was the truth. And when I played it, I was like, they were on with that. I got that. Yeah. So I use it as a gauge. So I say, there's a game that I see that looks like it's up my alley. I'm probably going to play it either way. If it comes out and it's getting like 8, 9s, 10s, then I knew, yep, I'm ready to go. If I wasn't too sure and it's getting 3s and 4s kind of across the board, I'm like, might stay away from that one. And I kind of use it that way, right? Mm-hmm. I don't ever let it melt me down. Where if there's something I want to play, nothing's going to stop me from playing it. It's like sometimes it's like buyer beware. Like some you win, some you lose.
Exactly.
More times than not, if you use the gauge, you end up winning.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was saying. In terms of, usually I'm pretty in line with the critics. Being a critic myself, I'm usually pretty good at guesstimating what a game's Metacritic is. Sometimes I'm off, but usually it's pretty accurate. If I want to play it, though, I'm still going to play it regardless. Right. Like, you can't. This was never going to happen. But if Metro Exodus had gotten 50s across the board, it's like, screw you guys. Something's wrong with y'all. I'm still playing it. Obviously that didn't happen. It got great reviews.
And there's a certain level of defense that's going to come from people because of certain aspects. Like, I will fully admit I was very over defensive about Fallout 76, but that's because one of my best friends growing up works for Bethesda. Mm-hmm. And I know how much hard work he puts into his day. Mm-hmm. I know how often he works overtime and how much love he has for the work he does. Mm-hmm. So when I see people tearing it apart, not necessarily like big critic sites, but like the Twitter crowd tearing it apart, it gets to me a little because I know how much time and love he's put into his career.
You see the human element. I know you see the human element of things.
But at the same time, there was nothing in the reviews of Fallout 76 that were wrong. Mm-hmm. And I will admit to that. That game is buggy. It's still broken. It still has issues. I still have fun with it. But it's definitely not an 8 or a 9 or anything along those lines. Mm-hmm. And if you have personal friends or anything that works with a company and stuff like that, it's understandable if you're defensive. I don't get the guys that have all day to spend on Twitter being combative. I made a tweet about the lack of multiplayer in Crackdown 3 and said that it was late. It was poor judgment and that they need to do better in regards to, it's a multiplayer game. It's 2019. What multiplayer game in 2019, can you not play with your friends?
Well, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
No one said you can.
Exactly. It's like that's not what the question was. It's not like
right.
And there are people who are doing this, and they're being idiots, obviously. But if you're going up to someone and say, "Hey, quit having fun," it's like, no,
hey,
no,
stop.
Go away. It's like, no, you're not actually enjoying that, guys. It's like, yeah, I am. It's like that's a different issue. That's the other end of the spectrum, and I've been there before on the receiving end of it. But it's like, I didn't ask you whether you were having fun. I'm saying a basic fact.
Yeah. And then it makes you question: are you really having fun, or do you want to convince me you're having fun?
Like the best comment I got out of this. So you keep in mind, this is while I was embargoed, so I'm playing the game. And people are sitting there going, well, you don't know. You haven't played it yet. Why are you being so critical? And I'm sitting there my first favorite one was for a quote tweet from someone who blocked me after I dunked them back. Was Xbox and Crackdown don't owe anybody anything. Why is everybody so entitled to this? Is it lame? Sure. But why do you care about playing with your friends? Maybe they did so you can team up with random people who may not have teams to prevent crappy campers and exploiting players. I'm like, so hold up. You're playing a game where you wanted me to play with random people online and do team-based objectives. No.
That's not like it was invented.
Tell me that was a joke. Please tell me that was tongue-in-cheek.
That was not a joke. That was I legitimately replied to them originally and was like, hey, I'm not being dismissive or anything, but are you just kind of like doing some banter? And they're like, no, you're being an over-entitled gamer. I'm like, okay. How dare I want to play a multiplayer game with my friends in 2019? Damn.
But no, the one that trips me out, again, features that are pretty much in almost any multiplayer game in 2019, you take it as a given now. It's almost like your cell phone having a ringtone.
Exactly.
Right? And you get this. Well, there's plenty of stuff for you to go play, so you should just chill until they deliver it. Does not mean that I should not be vocal about it. Does not mean that we can't have a commentary around it. It's not entitlement. It's unacceptable. It should be unacceptable.
I'm in this middle ground right now because the thing is Crackdown 3 does deserve all the criticisms it's getting. I'm tired of fanboys using my review because I was one of the few critics that had a good time with the game. Tired of fanboys using my review, and keep in mind, I gave it a 7. And this was not a high 7. This was a low 7.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, see, he had fun.
Right.
That means it's a good game. I'm like,
that's not
yeah, but you're talking to a guy who enjoyed Duke Nukem Forever. So, like, what's your ratio on, like, do you really understand my scoring systems? But the biggest thing is, like, there's being critical and calling stuff out. Like, yeah, Crackdown 3 is a mediocre game. It's a game that's stuck back when the Crackdown series was founded. It's fundamentally a last generation game in how its world's delivered and everything else. Graphically and everything else, it's not a last generation game. That's fine. And then people are like, well, Xbox needs to do better. Yes, they need to do better than Crackdown 3. But people are like, well, Xbox has done nothing to prove they can do better than Crackdown 3, Sea of Thieves, or State of Decay 2. And I'm like, hold up. I'm all for calling out corporations to the Littleverse more. As a PS3 owner, a Wii U owner, I have constantly cried, bitched, moaned about everything. I get it. And yes, it seems whatever console Nicholas buys day one, don't buy that console because it's going to be fucking terrible. Shout out to late gen PlayStation 3 where they got together, but by then that ship had already sailed for me. Wii U, that just never recovered. Nintendo just was like, nope, burn it. Microsoft is working at what they need to do. Crackdown 3, and I've seen people like Kofi say this, and I really co-sign and agree with it. I think this is going to be the last mediocre Microsoft Game Studios or Xbox Game Studios game we're going to see for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because the things we've got coming down the pipeline are things like Ori and Will of the Wisps. It's gonna be huge.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Gears 5 coming down the pipelines, and let's face it, they're really trying to change up the Gears franchise. Halo Infinite, once again, Halo franchise, they're trying to change it up. They want to do something bigger. They got a new engine. Outer Worlds is coming. That's a multi-plat, but people are now going to understand why I've been screaming about Obsidian for years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of promise coming down the lines. I think Crackdown 3 is a pinpoint reminder of what this generation was for Microsoft, and people are going to look back on this as the turning point for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're a fan of the Xbox brand and you're feeling bullied or whatever, just don't take it that seriously. It's video games. Enjoy the games you enjoy. You don't have to fake enjoy something for it. There's been PlayStation exclusives. I was like, well, I'm not playing this. This is stupid. Right. There's tons of Xbox games that I've played. I went, this is stupid. I'm not going to play this because I'm an Xbox guy. No, I'm not going to fake like Sea of Thieves because I'm an Xbox guy. Mm-hmm. Sea of Thieves puts me asleep. Are they putting a lot of extra content in? Are they adding stuff? Yeah, they're doing great things with the game. Still puts me to sleep. Doesn't change.
Can I interject for a minute? If you feel like you're being bullied over your console choice, look yourself in the mirror and then punch yourself in the face. Seriously, it's like it's a console. You can't be online bullied for your console that you like. Just get offline. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, and shout out to Brandon Murphy in the chat who brings up the good point that he actually works for PlayStation, and I have not seen him get nearly defensive as these guys that don't work for Pleystation.
That's true.
Like, guys, I literally get paid to promote this stuff. You're taking it too far.
Damn. All right.
I remember the day. I can't remember what the game was. Brandon. I remember Brandon posted on Twitter. It was like, I'm really enjoying whatever the Xbox game was, and people were like, "You can't like Xbox. You literally work for PlayStation."
Wasn't it Farm Together or something?
Like, something I want people to see is like you do understand the concept that people work for these companies, right? There are people who work in Microsoft who like PlayStation and vice versa.
Like, you know, like, I don't even think the guy has an Xbox One X. He just plays on his PC, for God's sakes.
You know, this is the thing. I'm gonna sit back and laugh, and if I can get a receipt, a timestamp for tonight, and I've been saying for a long time. I said, like, Gears, Halo, those franchises have value. They just need to evolve, right? Mm-hmm. And plenty of times, Sam will attest to this, I got into debates. I'll call them debates, but I was told on Twitter, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. Why are you worried about it? Why would you do that? It's like, dude, chill, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to see if we evolve and we grow, how many people start changing their tune. Like, well, this is amazing. The changes are great. I'm like, see? Great franchises can be great as long as you allow them to grow and change and evolve with the times.
You can keep a franchise going forever. And I'm going to use a franchise I've never played a game for. But Final Fantasy is a perfect example of there is so many different kinds of Final Fantasy games where they did something completely different or took a big risk and did something new with it. Mm-hmm. That there's some games you're like, is this even a Final Fantasy game? Oh, yeah, it's got a guy with an emo haircut from 2008. This is definitely a Final Fantasy.
Right.
But they take risks with the franchise. You can't just keep recycling out the same games. Like, not even Call of Duty. Like, if you take Call of Duty 1, compare it to Modern Warfare, and then compare it to Black Ops 2, and then compare it to Ghosts, and then compare it to Advanced Warfare, and then go all the way to where we are now, they're not even remotely close to the same game. Like, yeah, the class systems are the same. The core essentials are there, but there's still variations. And there is nothing with demanding as a fan. People should not ostracize a fan of a game for wanting more. Like, if Horizon Zero Dawn 2 comes out and they fix the melee combat, they make Aloy an interesting protagonist, I'm there day one for Guerrilla Games. Because I want them to prove me wrong. I want them to stomp mud in my face and make me look like an idiot. That's what I want. It's what I want these companies to do. Every time you release a game, I hope it's better than the next one.
Hey, I said the same thing. I'm not a huge fan of how overall, I like parts of Quantum Breakdown, but not the whole thing. But I told Sam I wouldn't mind them doing a second one to see if they can answer some of the questions and kind of really put a stamp on it, you know? Sure. But that's the whole thing about it. And that's kind of like the point I was making about Crackdown. I said, I saw when they first showed Crackdown at like Comic-Con, I was like, this is looking more like a remaster of Crackdown 1.
I told you when I played it at E3 2017, I was like, even with my limited experience of the first game, it's like, yeah, it's Crackdown. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Technically, there's nothing wrong with that. And well, we could have a whole conversation about Crackdown. We could have a whole. I'm sure we will.
But the only thing I said about that was, if you're going to do Crackdown 3, you might want to see an evolution of mechanics, the way the game plays. Because the little bit I played last night, I was very familiar. I said it feels a lot like how the original game controlled. Not necessarily a bad thing. It has this, whatever. And that's why I think I asked Nick in the DM, did this happen? Because guess why? Nick has played through the game. So I can ask him questions. Unlike the person that got it yesterday and played it for an hour, was like, I don't know what the reviews are talking about. This game's fun as hell. They're all full of shit. It's like, I'll trust the guy that played through the entire game.
Yeah.
Before I trust you. So, and it's like, Nick, did they do this with bosses? No, they kind of has the same formula. Oh, would have been cool to see that. Again, never said that trope can be fun. But this defense of, well, it's the same as that gameplay loop, and that's all we really wanted was more Crackdown. It's the best Crackdown in the series. It's like, fine, if you believe all that. I really don't believe you all believe all that. I believe you just feel you just need it to be this because you have this war going on in your head. Right. There's nothing wrong with saying if it's going to be Crackdown 3, just like any other game, it's, almost 10 years, over 10 years that this game came out, saying Crackdown 3, you would like to see some evolutions in it.
Yeah.
Calling it Crackdown Remix would have a completely different connotation, a completely different tone. Even Brandon Tyrell, who did the review for IGN, he said if it was Crackdown Remix or Remake or whatever, it would have been graded as such. But you're saying Crackdown 3, you're looking, over 10 years later, you're looking for something different.
Yeah. It's like, and there's a lot of complicated stuff that goes. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say there is a complicated background there. Obviously, it's like I'm sympathetic to that. I really am. But it's like at the end of the day, there's a legitimate conversation to be had. You have to open your mind about that. That's just how it is. Doesn't mean you can't have fun. Like I just said, the first thing on this show I said was I'm enjoying Wrecking Zone. I really like it. It's impressive to me right now. But nonetheless, there's a dialogue to be had. I mean, in a hypothetical world that obviously didn't happen, where Sony Santa Monica released the new God of War, and it was like a carbon copy of Ascension in terms of control scheme, I'm sorry. I think a lot of us would have said, okay, we've had enough. It's like, this is getting really, really old now. Ascension already, kind of wore out its welcome in terms of how it was doing things. It's like, that wouldn't have been okay this many years later. That wouldn't have been okay.
Exactly. Sam, I told you as a huge God of War fan, if they came with another God of War, I was like the way it was with Ascension and the original, I was done.
Exactly.
I had no interest in doing that anymore.
Yeah, I was the same way. And sometimes you look back on a game and you sit there and go, this was a really great game. And then you play a more recent release and you're like, oh okay, I guess. Like, I'll give a perfect example. I played, and I'd never told Sam this, I actually played and finished Alan Wake.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. And I asked you to tell me if you ever played that game. What the heck, man?
I know, right? Holding out, dude.
Absolutely amazing game.
Yep.
It makes me 10 times more disappointed in Quantum Break. Absolutely destroys me now because I'm like, I understand the potential people had going into this game and why some people were so disappointed with it now. Because when I played Quantum Break, I'm like, yeah, it's not terrible. It's okay. It's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting. But if you came off of Alan Wake to that, I get it. And the thing is people don't like raw honesty if it doesn't reflect what they want to hear. And I've been pounding my chest about this, that Halo Wars 2 is a better Halo game than anything that's come out of 343.
That's another on the backlog.
Halo Wars 2 did come out of 343, but okay.
Another backlog game.
Spin-off RTS game of the franchise should not be the pinnacle of your development.
I hear what I said. I hear your point. I get what you're saying.
Because Halo 3 to me hasn't been good since Bungie left. People can fight me on that. It's fine. multiplayer's been recycled garbage. That's the only thing that's mattered to me in the Halo franchise. And it's been sad and depressing for me to see people just coming to the defense of that and being like, it's fine. It was like when Halo 4 came out. I'm not sure if you guys remember this. When Halo 4 came out, they had an experience limit for when you were playing multiplayer. They wouldn't let you get, after I can't remember how much experience it was, but they would cut off your experience gain at a certain point. And me and my friends were like, well, that's stupid. If I want to play Halo for 12 hours, let me play Halo for 12 hours. Why would you do that? And that turned us off of Halo 4. And I remember griping on social media because that was back when I was doing like tournaments and stuff. I went, this is dumb. I grind for tournaments all the time. Why can't I gain XP? And I was met with, oh, well, you're just a fanboy. You don't care about the actual game. You're just whining for the sake of whining. I legitimately had a concern about this game. And I noticed that in the next game, they didn't have an XP limit. I'm just saying, if there's something with a game you want to see change, be vocal about it, but there's also a point where you start beating a dead horse. And I think that's the point we reach with some people on social media. Some people are beating the same dead horse they've beat for the past 3 years on Twitter. Like, there's having an opinion about something and then letting that opinion define you. And these guys that are always like, oh, well, it's an Xbox game, so it's going to suck. Those people annoy me. But the people that are also like screaming media bias every time a reviewer deadpans an Xbox game, those guys annoy the hell out of me too. Like, okay, look me straight in the fucking eye and tell me ReCore's a good game. And I know Sam won't do that to me, but Sam, just go away. Stop.
ReCore's a good game.
No, it's not. It's terrible.
You will not sit on this podcast and slam Metal Gear Rising. ReCore's a good game.
I said what I want.
Respect my authority.
Goddamn right. Respect my authority.
Oh my God.
And that, if that's not my mantra online, and if people know me, they know that's my mantra in general, is I'm a loud ass and I'm an asshole. But as a general rule of thumb, I always try to respect the developers and respect general people. But if people lash out at me, I just hit the mute button now. I don't call you whatever names I would that would get me demonetized on YouTube. But that's just the purpose of this, is just have fun. Don't let other people dictate what's fun to you. I'm sure the one person out of my subscriber base that enjoyed ReCore is sitting there shaking their fist at me, disliking this video.
I mean, I am shaking my fist at you. I won't dislike the video.
Do it, then. Just do it. Let's quickly hit the button.
And just remember the greatest quote that was given to me. I will not tell you who said this. Prey is a great game. People were too dumb to understand it. Will not tell you who gave you that. And I will fully co-sign that quote as an agreement. It's 100% factual. Because Prey is essentially BioShock on steroids. And that's that. So if you haven't disliked this video or unsubscribed to me from the hot takes, I'll do a hot takes video. I've been thinking about doing that. I want to do a 10-minute montage of gaming hot takes I actually believe that I've kept in my back pocket just to see how many dislikes I can get on it.
No. What you do is, dude, you got to make it fun. What you do is you do a bunch of hot takes and you say, one of these is true. One of these is completely false. Then you give 2 hot takes. You got to keep it interesting. You got to make people.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's a good idea.
That's actually an interesting idea. I might actually try that out. But we're gonna wrap up the show. I want to thank everyone for stopping by in the chat. It's been popping tonight. I appreciate everyone that tunes in and checks out this show. Appreciate all the people that share the video and share the podcast on a regular basis. There's more stuff coming. We got an interesting week ahead. As always, don't forget to check out Tick Games Network for your latest news and information. I don't think I've got much in the way of information for you guys. I'm going to be uploading a video on Tuesday. that you'll want to keep an eye out for, but there'll be more details on that in the upcoming days. So we'll do our outros here. Sam, where can people find you?
Well, people can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's Tolbert. You can find everything I write on tickgamesnetwork.com. Just had a review drop today on Switchblade, which is a free-to-play MOBA on PC and PS4 that's actually a ton of fun. And nobody is talking about it. Like, literally nobody. And that's distressing to me because this is actually a really cool take on the MOBA genre. And it's completely free to play. I recommend people go check it out. As an extended outro, Nick, do we have an update in terms of what you're working on when you'll have those Crackdown 3 co-op questions answered? Because we had people asking about that.
I had a few people hit me up in DMs in regards to that. You gotta be careful with doing Crackdown 3 co-op. Apparently, if you use your agent that you have saved and take him to a different world than the one you're in, you can lose your progress.
Okay, so you use a different save, use a different
different save, because I saw Tony Polanco on Twitter today lose his progress because of hopping into a friend's game.
Oh, that's brutal.
Okay, so don't do that. Have a dedicated co-op.
May be archaic, so be very careful with how you play it. So if you're playing co-op with a friend, create a new character, share that world, and then when you and your friend are done playing co-op, go back to your other character, so to speak. Just until, because there is I did some digging online, I did some looked over PR emails. There is no details on how that co-op works, which is
fair enough. Do you have an estimate on when your opinion on the multiplayer side of things?
Yes, multiplayer opinion side should be done on Monday, so that'll probably go live on the site on Tuesday. I have a long weekend this weekend, so I just want to get a little bit more time with it.
Awesome.
Jared.
Well, people can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X, or as well at TickGamesNetwork.com for, news and opinion pieces and all that fun stuff. And other than that, there's not much.
Right on. And Eric.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ECJackson with an X. And on Wednesday nights, Brat Podcast at 9 p.m. And other than that, a small little coffee shop in Old Yarnum.
Where he can be found muttering, "Shark giants, shark giants, winter lanterns."
I'm telling you, wait till the day that I start selling my own Bloodborne licensed marijuana supplies of dank yarn.
Dank yarn, man. Dank yarn.
Oh my god!
It's coming.
Shout out to Colin Moriarty for the dank yarn.
Oh man, I'm so mad. As soon as I heard him say that, I'm thinking something. Our thing, Colin.
Well, to be fair, I got it from him because I remember him saying it like a long time ago on Podcast Beyond. So I was like, "Thank you, Yarn, man. That's a strain. Now let's do that."
Man, I'm so done. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great Saturday night. Don't forget you can tune into Tick Podcast in a mere 11 minutes from now for the #1 spot for Xbox news, information, and Cal's horrible hot takes on games.
Damn, will you guys be talking about Crackdown 3? I'm sure.
I have a feeling. I have this weird, strange feeling that Crackdown 3 is in fact on the.
I have a weird feeling like my name's going to come up in defensive conversation at some point during this
Half the episode is just Sam in the background rubbing his temples, going, "Why? Why?"
No, that's half my life.
Well, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Post up, we'll have a theory about how Crackdown 3 world's flat, and it'll be great.
I was just going to say that it's flat. It's all flat.
All right. We'll see you guys next week on the Gaming Perspective Podcast. We'll see you on episode 36. And I got to change the episode title for this. Later, guys.